Morgan Gibbs White.
Gibbs White. Forest lead again. Morgan Gibbs White.
Mohammed Kudus.
He's off on one of his mazy runs. On and on he goes.
A thing of wonder to seal the deal.
Tottenham's new team is looking scary. After an up and down season in which Spurs were barely above relegation, yet somehow won a European title, it was time for some improvements. And now not only have they gotten two top proven Premier League players, but they have also gotten a manager who quietly built one of the smartest and most overachieving clubs in England with Brentford. So can these new signings take Tottenham to the next level? Let's find out. The Gibbs White signing came out of nowhere. This guy was linked to Man City for weeks. Many saw him as the Kevin De Bruyne replacement. That's how good he was. Then when that didn't happen, everyone kind of assumed that he would stay at Forest considering they had such a strong season. But clearly, the English midfielder was impressed by the Thomas Frank project and the prospect of playing Champions League football. Despite Tottenham finishing 17th in 2025, players still want to join them. And not just any player, a player who ever since moving to Forest from Wolves in August of 2022 has established himself as one of the best players in the Premier League. In 2025, he was one of the biggest reasons that Forest had such a good run in the league. Playing as the number 10 in the 4-2-3-1, he was the heart and soul of the squad. He got 7 goals and 10 assists as Forest secured a 7th place finish in the Premier League and qualified for the Conference League. In total, he had 18 goals and 28 assists in 118 matches during his 3 years at Forest, which is quite impressive considering that for 2 of those 3 years, the Tricky Trees were just trying not to get relegated. No matter where Forest were in the table, Gibbs White consistently delivered. He could score, he could create, and he never stopped running.
Great advantage with someone like Gibbs White is that he wants to do the work without the ball. And you don't always get number 10s or attacking players who want to do the work.
That's what I think Thomas Frank will love about him the most. Not only is he technically excellent, but he isn't afraid to do the dirty work off the ball. He will track back, he will press. And in this era of modern football, everyone on the team needs to have an impact both with and without the ball, or you end up looking like Real Madrid. Whether he played as the number 10 or drifted out wide for Forest, Gibbs White was always involved. He would drop in between the lines right behind Chris Wood, receive the ball, then start the attack. Nuno essentially built the system around him because he knew that Gibbs White would actually take care of the ball. He knows when to slow things down and when to really drive forward. Some of the passes he played to Elanga and Hudson-Odoi were honestly magical. These through balls that would cut the defense open like Bonnie Blue. Now the only question is, where does he play? I could see him cooking under Thomas Frank in the number 10 role, because Frank also used a 4-2-3-1 at Brentford, and he used Damsgaard there and he did a fantastic job. He got 10 assists in the league and was one of the biggest reasons why Wissa and Mbeumo scored so much. The only problem with that is that if you play Gibbs White down the middle, where does Kulusevski and Maddison play? Not to mention that Kudus can also play through the middle. Thomas Frank will have to figure it out, but considering that Spurs now have Champions League football, having more quality doesn't hurt. They need to be able to rotate without seeing a drop off because, as I've said before, we live in a time where depth is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. Now the Gibbs White signing alone would have been an impressive summer, but Spurs had gone out and picked up another top player before him, and that's Mohammed Kudus. This guy is such a beast, man. He was one of my favorite players to watch. In the 2025 season, he attempted the second most take-ons per 90 in the Premier League. The only person ahead of him was that freak Doku. The 2024 season was the same thing. Kudus was once again second in take-ons per 90 behind Doku. If we look at this first chart again, we can see that not only does he attempt a lot of dribbles, but he's very efficient at them. He consistently beats his man, and when he gets going, he is one of those players that looks like he's just gliding with the ball. He can twist past you in tight spaces, and he can accelerate past everyone when the game is more open. I mean, seriously, how many players are capable of scoring a goal like this?
He's off on one of his mazy runs. On and on he goes.
A thing of wonder to seal the deal.
One drop of the shoulder and this man is gone. Then you have the goal he scored against City.
Kudus! Hang on! Hold the phone in the title race!
When he's dribbling, he uses his body really well. He shields the ball like a pro, keeping it out of reach. His low center of gravity and strong legs make it nearly impossible to push him off the ball. Against Tottenham, he gave a perfect example of what I'm talking about. He dribbled inside, used his body to block off Odegaard, then quickly changed direction to shake off Basuma, and then sped past Archie Gray to create a chance. It's not just that Kudus is fast, he's very smart. He's always changing direction, waiting for the right moment to burst into space. In the game against Lyon a few years ago, for example, he found himself in a 1v2. For a player of Kudus' caliber, this is not a problem at all. He tricked the first defender with a clever touch to the left, then rolled the ball to the right before sprinting into space and assisting the goal. That's Kudus in a nutshell right there. Quick feet, quick thinking, and a player who is full of confidence. And here's the best part. Kudus is great in all type of games. If the opponent is sitting deep, he can dribble through the tightest gaps. If it's a back and forth match with lots of space, he can carry the ball up the pitch, and he has a rocket of a shot. Once this guy gets near the goal, he's a threat. Now, as good as he is on the ball, his off-the-ball movement is also very impressive. In the match against Brentford, he darted behind the defender, made space for a cross, and nearly scored. Then against Brighton, he made a clever run towards the middle, then changed direction at the last second to lose his marker, and tapped the ball into the corner. That kind of awareness is rare, and it's exactly what Spurs need. Sure, his goals and assists weren't that high in 2025, but that's because he was playing on a West Ham team that sucked and played boring football. On a more attacking team like Tottenham, his numbers will grow. He has already shown that he has the instincts and movement to score more. He just needs the chances. People forget how good this guy was in his debut season in the Premier League. He was named as the Premier League best newcomer by Gary Neville, as he got 18 goals and 10 assists in all competitions. The reason he was so good is that he was being played in his best position, on the right wing. He racked up 1,500 plus minutes in 2024 in that role, but as you can see in the 2025 season, he was forced to play everywhere else because West Ham had so many injuries. Kudus essentially became a victim of his own success because he was so versatile. Now, while he can play through the middle, on the left, and even up top, from what I have seen, he's the most dangerous cutting in from the right onto his left foot. I saw the same thing when I analyzed his best performances for Ajax before he moved to the Premier League. He can be Thomas Frank's new Mbeumo. The Danish manager turned Mbeumo from this unknown talent from the second division of French football into one of the Premier League's top goal scorers. Imagine what he can do now with a player that is considered the star of African football. The funny part is Ange is probably fuming at home looking at these signings. The poor guy only got Solanke as one of his big transfers, and the rest were these talented teenagers like Archie Gray and Berival who needed time to develop. But Kudus and Gibbs White are not development players. They're two guys that can immediately help the team and elevate Spurs to another level. The good thing for Spurs is that their existing players were already good. The issue was that they were never healthy altogether. Mickey van de Ven is a fantastic center back. He's super comfortable on the ball, can break lines with his passes, and can even carry the ball himself if he has to. Just ask Manchester United. His speed plus size make him an absolute unit. It's very tough to get by him. He doesn't let anything through, whether it's the ball or the man.
And look at the way he covers his goalkeeper. As soon as the goalkeeper comes to the 6-yard line, Mickey van de Ven's coming round on the cover.
The only issue with him was the constant injuries. That's it. Then next to him is Romero. If Spurs can keep this guy, then that's a huge positive for Thomas Frank. This is a center back who bleeds for the bag. There's a reason Messi said he's one of the best defenders he has ever played with. He's aggressive, athletic, good on the ball. What more can you ask for from your starting center half? Then you have Brennan Johnson, who turned into an absolute beast once he deactivated his social media account. He finished as the top goal scorer for Spurs in all competitions in 2025, with one of the goals being an unforgettable moment.
Soss cross has got real purpose, and Brennan Johnson has got
His goal ended Tottenham's 17-year wait for silverware. He wrote his name into the club's history with that moment. Now, while Kudus and Gibbs White are better players than him in my opinion, Johnson still offers a profile that is so valuable. He is lethal in transition and so deadly without the ball. Players like Gibbs White and Kudus need runners like Brennan Johnson. Then of course there's James Maddison. His season individually was about as up and down as Spurs is. Sometimes he looked like the best attacking midfielder in the league, other times you forgot he was on the pitch. I'm curious to see where he fits in with the arrival of all these new players, but as I stated, the season is long. He will get his chance. He will get an opportunity considering how many different competitions there are and the fact that somebody always gets injured. His set pieces, creativity, and football IQ will always be needed. He's such an intelligent player in between the lines, and we have seen the levels that he can reach. If Thomas Frank can make someone like Damsgaard into an assist machine, imagine what he can do with a talent like Madison. Now, of course, we can't speak about talents at Spurs and not mention Kulusevski. He was one of the most consistent players in a very inconsistent team. While Spurs' form moved up and down more than Lily Phillips' neck, Kulusevski remained a consistent top performer. The guy was practically involved in every top moment that Spurs had. The 4-0 against Everton started with his clever layoff for Bissouma's opening goal. The come-from-behind win at Coventry in the Carabao Cup was turned when Kulusevski took control of the game and set up Spence's equalizer. When Spurs bent United over at Old Trafford, it was Kulusevski who scored the second goal with a flying volley reminiscent of his hero and Swedish countryman Zlatan Ibrahimovic. On that day, Kulusevski was the best player on the pitch by a distance. Then when Spurs ended up destroying West Ham 4-1, they were actually down a goal before Kulusevski took over and beat Areola with a powerful low shot to the near post. And then, of course, in typical fashion, he dunked on Man City, this time in the Carabao Cup. His ability to drive forward allowed him to slice City's midfield open like butter. Let's also not forget his genius pass to Solanke in the game against Villa. Ange realized very quickly in the 2025 season that Kulusevski was way better down the middle than he was on the wing. His fantastic performance against City, where he picked up a goal and assist, came when he was playing as the attacking midfielder. Then just a few weeks later, he was involved in both goals as Spurs beat Nottingham Forest, once again playing down the middle. Look at where he was creating his chances in 2025 compared to the 2024 season. The way he plays really does remind me of a slower Gareth Bale. What he lacks in Bale's speed, he makes up with power. He is so strong. It's impossible to bully this guy off the ball. And when he goes shoulder to shoulder with someone, he usually comes out as the winner. But when I say power, I don't just mean physical strength. I'm also talking about his running power. He is very difficult to stop because he's relentless. He has the hunger to keep making forward runs, to continue working even when he doesn't have the ball. Kulusevski's amazing ability on the ball, combined with his unlimited work rate, make him such a valuable asset for Thomas Frank. Let's just see where the Danish manager actually plays him. And then up front, Dominic Solanke is the number 9 every team needs. He's strong in the air, he holds up the ball well, and to be honest, he knows how to find the net in big games. In the Europa League semi-final in Norway, with everything on the line, it was Solanke who stepped up and scored. It was that goal that helped push Spurs into the final, and the rest, of course, is history. So now imagine giving all of this talent to a manager who has proven for years that he can overachieve with far worse players. Despite a smaller squad and more competition than ever in the Premier League, Brentford stayed in the race for a European place until the final weeks in the 2025 season. They finished 10th, capping off 4 full seasons in the Premier League with final positions of 13th, 9th, 16th, and 10th. That level of consistency, with one of the league's lowest budgets, is nothing short of remarkable. And along the way, Thomas Frank's Brentford beat almost everyone. They embarrassed Manchester United, which I know is not that big of an achievement these days, but still. They won at Chelsea, they stunned City, and they even took points off Spurs. Thomas Frank had turned Brentford into the giant killer. They played smart, they played brave, and were always ready for a fight. And now, he brings that same spirit to Tottenham. When Levy saw just how much Thomas Frank was overachieving with limited resources, I just know his balls were tingling. That's exactly the type of manager he was looking for. Every season, Thomas Frank lost good players. Sometimes it was his best goal scorer like Mope, Ollie Watkins, and Tony. Other times it would be someone in the back line like Raya and Konsa. Yet without fail, he would adapt. But I believe Levy was also impressed by Thomas Frank's ability to develop talent. Thomas Frank doesn't talk about projects, he builds them. When he got to Brentford, he transformed many great talents into actual top Premier League players. It was under Thomas Frank that Ollie Watkins transformed from a winger into a center forward. That move was pivotal to his career. If he stayed as a winger, who knows what would have happened to his development. That change in position completely changed the trajectory of his career, as he became one of the very best number 9s in the league. Then you also have Tony, Mbumo, and Wissa, who evolved into elite players. In the 2025 season, Mbumo was one of the best forwards in the league. He got 20 goals and 8 assists on a side that ended up mid-table. Then you have Damsgaard, who got 10 assists as an attacking midfielder in the 4-2-3-1, but nobody talked about him. Take this man to Turkey for a hair transplant and he would be all over Sky Sport. It's also important to look at the different profiles that all succeeded under Thomas Frank. Mope, Tony, and Mbumo are all different types of forwards, yet each of them were successful under Thomas Frank. The man is a master of working with the tools at his disposal. I think what Spurs fans are going to love about him the most is his flexibility. Not being able to change things on the fly was one of the biggest criticisms that Ange received. He always stuck with the 4-3-3 and rarely changed the style of play, but that's not an issue for Thomas Frank. In his first few years in the Premier League, he switched between a 3-5-2 system and a 4-3-3. It was a 3-back but with aggressive wingbacks. so that the team would morph into a 5-back out of possession. The system worked great, especially against teams that wanted to dominate possession like Manchester City, Liverpool, and Arsenal.
I mean, that's it, it's not a secret. You play two systems, normally a back four, but when you play against the so-called top six or some of the bigger teams, you go to a back three.
Frank adapts to the tools at his disposal. Brentford got promotion to the Premier League through a possession style of play. They were in the top 5 for possession in each of Frank's 2 full seasons in charge in the Championship. His team also scored more goals than every other team in those campaigns.
Especially over my time, especially here in the Championship where we were the dominant side. I think that 2 years in a row we scored the most goals in the Championship and were one of the most dominated, most attacking teams there.
But he completely changed his philosophy and style as soon as he got to the Premier League. He became far more pragmatic. But now with better players available to him, who knows what he can achieve. I personally think we are going to see a shift back to the way that Frank's Brentford teams played in the Championship. Because when you look at this chart right here, you can see that over time, Brentford were moving further away from the slow and intricate style. Now that he has access to more money and better talent, I think he's going to want his side to keep the ball more. But the good thing is that he will also likely encourage his players to not be afraid of being more direct. Under Ange, Tottenham basically only played short passes. Only Man City had less long passes than them. But under Frank, we could see elements of his Brentford side when it comes to putting long balls into the channel to create opportunities. Now, Thomas Frank has a master plan for his Tottenham side, and to see what that plan is, you have to check out this video right here.